Shalom, everybody. Welcome back to Baal Zelom's Matan Torah with commentary by Rabbi Abraham Mordechai Gottlieb. We are on page 118 at the very bottom, section 23. The last class we ended off speaking about the notion of thievery and how we should come to the point of self-awareness that we are all thieves, in the sense that the deepest sense of the word thief is meaning to say that we receive for ourselves alone, meaning we are bringing something from another domain that is not ours, or at least we haven't earned to make use of it and bring it into our own, as opposed to, let's say, eating something with saying the particular formula being the bracha, the blessing on said food. That would not necessarily be considered stealing in the spiritual sense of the word. Even with a bracha, if someone's intention was just to eat the food, just to eat the food purely for their own betterment, not to strengthen their body, not to serve the Creator better, just for their own enjoyment. And it wasn't on Shabbat, because we can enjoy on Shabbat for the sake of the Creator, because He wants us to enjoy on Shabbat. Then that could be considered stealing as well, if we just do it for ourselves alone, even with a blessing. But the principle stands. And we're going to be touching on the other side as far as the ability to connect and encamp with each other in this section. So let's continue. Section 23, the header reads, Israel became qualified to be a candidate to receive the Torah due to two factors: their afflictions in Egypt and the spiritual purification of the nation's ancestors. The Baal Hasulam begins. With these words is clarified what we discussed above in section 5 regarding the Torah being given specifically to the stock of the Israeli nation. For it is certain, and no one would disagree, that the purpose of creation applies to the whole of the human race without any essential difference. However, because of the descent of human nature to the lowest level, as explained above, which is the self-love that unrestrictedly rules over all of humanity, there was no way to begin to negotiate with them and to explain to them so that they would commit and agree, even with a mere promise, to exit their narrow framework and enter the wide world of loving the other. The exception was the Israeli nation, because they were enslaved in the savage kingdom of Egypt 400 years in horrible torments. As a well-known saying of our sages states, just as salt sweetens meat, so afflictions polish a person's sins, as brought in Masechet Brachot, or Brachos, 5a of the Talmud. That is, afflictions bring to the body great purification. I think it's important to note here that body is meaning to say the will to receive for oneself alone. The body, the guf in itself, is a branch that's representing the principle of receiving for ourselves alone. So too, when we do maisim, when we do actions, all the more so maisim toivim, good actions, we are able to go against our initial nature of receiving and at least attempt to be giving, and therefore refine the body in that way too, by using the body physically in order to do mitzvot. Even though praying 3 times a day is a bit more mentally demanding and spiritual as well, depending on one's intentions, just to show up to a minyan in a shul, even if there's no deep connection with the individuals there, just to fulfill the Creator's desire for that individual, it's a huge thing. And to bring your body over there when you don't necessarily want to, and then to use your body to move and to whisper the perfect formula that will elevate your soul, whether you feel it or not, as our sages tell us, that's a beautiful thing. This is a type of refinement of the body that is being referred to here, but this is a bit more physical in terms of the suffering we endured. But it's meaning to say that our will to receive was also slowly but surely over all of the time of our servitude being crushed until we came to that breaking point of our geula, of our redemption, of at least coming to that inner consciousness of desiring it and making away with only the miracle of Hashem's hand, the Creator's hand, of pulling us out of Mitzrayim, of Egypt. As Egypt is representing our narrowness, our self-love, as we'll get into here. The Baal Sulam ends this paragraph. Furthermore, the spiritual purification of their holy ancestors stood them in good stead. See section 16. And this is the essential factor, as several verses of the Torah testify. The Rebbe Shlita says, regarding the matter of afflictions bringing the body great purification, because of their afflictions, Israel had to unite and throw their self-love to the garbage heap. Similarly, in a time of war, when we all share the same sorrow, we unite and cast away our disagreements and whatever separates us. The Hebrew word for Egypt, Mitzrayim, hints to a double narrowness. Tsarut ayin, a narrow eye, meaning narrow vision, and Sart Lev, a narrow heart, meaning a narrow concern. So the spiritual meaning of subjugation in Egypt is subjugation to the self-love within us. The difficulty of the subjugation consists in the travail of the long struggle against one's self-love. And it is due to this that one can merit to be redeemed from the, quote, narrow vision and narrow heart called Mitzrayim. It's a narrow consciousness, to put into other words. And this is the freedom. This is the true freedom. People have had different notions regarding their experiences in their lives. There's people who used to live in the former USSR and came to America, for example, for freedom. And there's people who are fleeing America right now to other countries for freedom. The dynamics of freedom as we understand it in terms of what we're able to do as an individual, economically and religiously and the like, is well known. But here we see the definition of true freedom spiritually. Freedom means to be free from your will to receive, free from your ego. Meaning to say, you can move wherever you want. You can change your place and change your friends, and you can do a lot. But until you put yourself in the best environment, again and again, slowly but surely growing in the environment, being that we are like trees, we need to put ourselves in fertile soil that has ample amounts of rain so that we can grow appropriately, as opposed to dry land. And we connect to a mentor that we can nullify ourselves to, nullify our desires, and throw our logic and our understanding to the trash heap, and respect and acknowledge the fact that the other person is greater than ourselves, obviously trusting that they are hopefully and ideally a spiritual master. And so through this, slowly but surely, with a friend group that's close and intimate, it has the same desire of reaching oneness with the Creator. Through all of this, we achieve freedom.